We are talking about Star Trek Picard Season 3, the final season, Episode 5. The name of this season and this episode is called Imposters. Dun, dun, dun.
What did that mean?
Well, what could it mean, Shane? Could it mean that Starfleet has perhaps been overrun by changelings?
Yes, that's exactly what
That's
it
what it means. That's what I mean,
it's like, yeah, exactly.
This is there wasn't a whole lot of subtext with that one. It's just that's exactly what it means. Okay.
Yeah. So last week's episode ended with the first act of the series essentially being ended. The Titan escaped the Shrike, and our TNG family worked together doing what they do best. We discovered new life in that nebula, which proves that even in dire circumstances, good Star Trek can also be searching out new life while trying to survive dire situations.
Right.
The episode ends with our team safe for the time being, but Jack is being haunted by his visions, and a female-sounding voice instructs him to find her.
Find me.
All right, so let's begin this episode.
Yeah, so in this episode, we start the party on the bridge of the Titan. It's business as usual. The bridge crew is doing their thing, blah, blah, blah. Everything's fine, right? And then Jack appears wearing a is that a command uniform? Yeah, the red command uniform. Okay. You know what's interesting too is later on this episode we figure out how he got the uniform.
Well, no, and this is not looking into the future. This is just a fantasy.
No, I know, but in this episode is when Seven gives him the uniform, right?
Right, but he didn't. You're saying it as if
right, but imagine
that he got the uniform he's wearing. No, it's a coincidence.
No, but the hyperlink here is that when he looks at the uniform with a perplexing look, it's because he had this vision.
Right, but it's a coincidence. Not one is not related to the other.
All right. Anyways,
no, seriously, you think it's related? You think it specifically happened that way?
I think that's why he had that look on his face.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is this scene is not related to the fact that he didn't get it because of this scene.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the reason he has that look on his face is because he had this dream and then she's like, "Here, put this uniform on." He's like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, I thought that was pretty obvious, but yeah.
So he gets on the bridge and he starts just shooting people. Just starts lighting up the whole bridge, takes everyone out, right? And there's a scene. Go ahead, Shane.
No, you're doing great.
I can tell you wanted to say something.
No.
Okay. There's a scene where he's looking over the bridge. I forgot her name. The bridge crew member, and he shoots her, and the same vines or whatever. And right here, the vines are behind him. Those red vines. And then here, when he shoots her, the vines are on his face. Oh my god.
On her, yeah. It's Ensign Esmer.
Ensign Esmer. Yeah. So the vines are on her face, and this is the moment too that for me that where I squealed a little bit because I'm just looking forward to the future by finding out what's going on with Jack, where his eyes glow red.
Well, yeah. So if you back it up just a touch though, this is because he's actually in his room here, so we went pretty far forward. So he's on the bridge. He's having this vision. Now, what's interesting is he goes from being very cold and robotic to once he kind of sees what's happening, his face changes and he actually starts welling up with tears as if he's trying to control what happens, but he can't. And then she says she knows what he is. He kills her and she screams. But it's, you can see the struggle that he's having in this state. So
right. And then again, his eyes glow red.
Yeah, he's back in his cabin, in his quarters. He's he wasn't actually there, but he realizes that he drops the phaser, and now what could this mean?
Yep. 1 second. Okay. And the title card. So an interesting part, something that I noticed here, and go ahead.
Just real quick, though, the last thing that was said in that, we need to mention this, is a female voice does say, after his eyes begin to glow, a female voice in his head says, "Come home."
Come home.
Right. So that's important.
Yeah, it is. Now this is actually I found this interesting. Shane said it wasn't interesting. He was like, "Yeah, I guess," but
I didn't say it wasn't interesting. I said there's no tie back to anything relevant.
the Titan is being repaired, but yeah, anything relevant because you're right because Discovery is not relevant.
No, no. Well, okay. So here's the deal: you don't get to go from Discovery, which took place in the before the TOS era, to now, current Star Trek, without having any of this in there. Now, in defense of what's going on here, I will say that that I think Michael Okuda, the guy who worked on TOS and TNG for design, he did have in his technical manual basically repair droids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we never saw them. I mean, we didn't really have the technology to be able to show it throughout the years.
Right.
But it is in the TNG tech manual, which, by the way, like, how do you get a free version of that sucker? Because you just can't. It's like you buy it or you don't. But anyways, it's in there. So hey, they had the idea that little robots would repair the ship for a long time. We just didn't see it until Discovery.
Right.
Right. They didn't show it. Maybe we didn't have the graphic ability to do so until then.
Maybe, but that was another major problem with Discovery. Not that it utilized something that totally makes sense canonically. It's that because of the time it took place, it doing it first just ruins the whole notion of the timeline, right? It like
right. Well, they
same thing with the holographic, communication. Like if you were if Discovery was in the future, none of that would have been an issue. But because it was in the past, and none of that was either wasn't possible or wasn't ever mentioned, it didn't make sense for us, right? But here it makes sense because it is in the future, and it makes complete sense for there to be repair drones fixing the ship.
Yeah, but if anybody has any questions, it is part of Star Trek canon. We do need an upvote for Jack's bridge scene, at least for me.
Okay.
And yeah.
And I'm gonna upvote. No, I'm not gonna upvote repair. They're not that special.
you were gonna spite upvote me there, I think.
I was about to spite upvote you. All right. So what's going on here?
Before we get into here, the one thing that during that scene that Brian was showing, we got an acting captain's log from Captain Riker, and he kind of recaps the situation. They say they've limped back to the edge of Federation space. So I found it really, really interesting. I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out exactly where they were on because they're out there. There are Star Trek maps of all the quadrants that you can people have painstakingly gone in. Apparently they haven't updated Picard yet because I couldn't quite figure out where it is because they were in the beta quadrant, right? But they came back they were barely in the beta quadrant outside of Federation space. Now what's interesting is Federation space covers both the alpha and beta quadrants to some degree. So they had to be in a completely different sector that was kind of off a little bit, right?
Oh,
so they come back. Yeah, so it's really interesting. If you love the lore of Star Trek and you get into things like the maps and stuff, it'll be very interesting to see where they end up putting this in relation to other, the Romulan, the Klingon, where this is exactly is going to be located.
I see. All right, so now I actually like this moment where she talks about the internal imaging chamber. I also, Shane, I thought it was the biobed was an imaging chamber. I guess it's not. So it makes sense here that they pass through an imaging chamber to see if they're changing or not. This also sort of explains, a lot of people were complaining about Jack's DNA not being picked up by the system or whatever. Well, the system is, we're seeing that it's not reliable right now. And that the changelings are now able to mask themselves, or at least they've gotten so good at shape-shifting that they are fooling the technology.
Right. That's the only solution they have at this point. The only thing they can think of, right?
Right.
Because they don't really know.
Yeah. It's what I think Beverly says, it's evolution, Jean-Luc. Or something.
Yeah. When we get to that scene, she'll say,
yeah,
she'll say that.
All right. Now, Riker hands command back of the ship to Shaw, and he's like, "Great, all right, listen, I already called Starfleet. They're on the way. You guys are screwed."
Yeah, another upvote here.
Yeah,
I love the professionalism. I love the way, listen, Riker professionally returns it back over. They do it, ceremoniously, with the turning over of the command. I thought it was great. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I love about Star Trek. And then Shaw basically, he's like, yes. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as it gets turned over, he is just, this is what you love about the character. You can see that he's just like a borderline ass. But then, he even turns to Seven and he's like, so you'll be joining him, right? Do you want to do it reinstated or as you are? And she says reinstated, right? And then he does this like omni, like he's got a sword,
right. Like he's knighting yeah.
Very interesting character. And then just when you think, man, this guy really is a jerk, then he says, I'm going to give you guys a chance to get together and get your bullshit story together.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Get your story straight. Right.
Meaning, he doesn't really want them to get in trouble, but at the same time, it's the rules.
Right.
And you got to follow the rules. So.
Speaking of rules, divide by zero, my friend. I'm only bringing you up right now because we've had this conversation with other people. You're saying don't spoil anything on the thumbnails because you don't get the episode until tomorrow. You should not watch this stream right now. As much as I would like you to, we are literally going through the episode frame by frame. So it's everything in right now for this episode is going to be spoiled. So you want to wait until tomorrow and come back and watch this then.
And here's something about spoilers. And I really do. I really feel bad for our friends over across the pond because a lot of them don't get to see this until tomorrow. And, it sucks, guys. And I'm really sorry. The thing is, though, is these images are plastered everywhere. By 6:30 this morning, Ro was everywhere, all over the internet.
Right.
So it's not like, we got to keep doing the show. But I appreciate what you're saying. And honestly, we hope you come back and watch us tomorrow. And I hate that you guys have to wait an extra day. Hopefully, I mean, God, we live in the 21st century. We should be able to all be able to watch something at the same time by now, right?
Yeah. And I get that they're saying like the thumbnails show up in people's feeds, but like the problem is everyone else is doing it.
Yeah,
like,
you can't.
Like it's either we don't do the review today, and a bunch of people are upset about us not doing the review today, or we do. Like those are the two options we have.
It's lose-lose. Even on the thumbnail, you got to remember we're competing with everybody else who's going to be reviewing this. So
there's thumbnails, and it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. Like,
listen, the best thing to do is just completely stay off social media for 24 hours. Yeah. And that's a shitty. Or do this: go get a VPN. Get a VPN, and it costs a little bit of money, but you can watch it as soon as it comes out. That's what we've had to do for a couple of things, that get launched other places. So.
Yeah, it's funny too because like on the official Star Trek Instagram, it was like a picture of Ro, like right away.
Yeah, the official Star Trek Instagram, like boom. They were the first ones to spoil.
You guys excited about this? We're like, whoa!
Slow your roll. We're not there yet.
Okay. So she's gonna face the music as a commander, and Beverly comes to Picard and she says, something's going on. Somehow the Changeling bypassed our systems. I must find out. I'm channeling Inner Kirk right now.
Inner Kirk.
And Picard says, go get it done.
Yeah, I love how Picard's like, listen, I just want us to hang out as a family. She's like, no, hold up. Okay, we got a problem here still. There's a mystery still to solve.
Right. A mystery is afoot. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jan. I feel you. All right. So Jack actually, he's apprehensive about meeting Starfleet because Starfleet, is there to arrest him or whatever. And I did like this. Picard's like, look, Starfleet is reasonable. They're, Starfleet isn't. The Starfleet is supposed to be reasonable.
Right. No, did you see what he said his exact words were? Let me get his exact words. He says, by the way, Picard is taking responsibility for all of it. He already told Seven he's going to take the fall.
Right.
But he says here, Starfleet is based on reason. Right. And I'm like, God, sign me up for that world. Sign me up for a world where things are based on reason and not, how people feel. Feelings are important to some degree, but when we base our decisions based on, feelings versus like common sense, I hate that. So I love that he said that there. And plus he said, I can be very persuasive, which he can.
Right. All right, now we're on Metalis. Now I do have a downvote here.
We're not on Metalis.
I'm sorry.
We're on the La
we're on
Sirena.
La Sirena. I apologize.
Yeah.
But isn't the La Sirena like on Metalis?
I mean, I don't think so. They'd probably beam down. I would not think they would leave their ship on it, but maybe, who knows? They don't really say.
Okay, whatever it is, we're back in that area where the La Sirena and the Metalis is. Okay, thank you for being. I know Shane's such a stickler for specifics. I'm here. Here's the deal. Here's my downvote, and I hate to downvote any scene with Worf in it because I love Worf, but I do feel. I'm starting to feel like this B story might be going on a little bit too long. And I know it's like I know it's wrapping up, but every time we go here, this episode and quite honestly, even the last episode, I was starting to feel it. I just sort of want to get back to the Titan.
Well, that is where a lot of things are happening, and this has been kind of a slow revealing process. Now, it does pay off later in this episode, but there's a couple of really cool things here. Worf is using a bat'leth. Haven't seen a bat'leth in a while. So that's kind of cool. He's also training Raffi, and she doesn't know it. And I love this scene because he kicks her butt. In other iterations of Trek that we've been seeing in the last several years, she would have taken him down, right? She would have defeated him.
Oh, yeah.
And then it would have been some sort of lesson for him. Right. But the aged veteran warrior completely dispatches her, and he's teaching her patience at the same time, which... going forward in the show, we hope that will pay off somehow.
Yeah, so patience and constraint.
And restraint, yes.
Oh, that's right, restraint. Thank you. Speech impediment. This scene, even though I don't want to be back on Metalis, I did love this scene because this is the right way to do it. It's okay for this to go the opposite way if she was the gnarled, 100-year war veteran, but because I saw some complaints about that, he's beating up a woman or whatever. Like, no, they are sparring. A, stupid thing to say, and B, again, aged Klingon war veteran from a warrior race. She doesn't stand a chance, and she shouldn't. And then at the moment where he could land a blow that would probably be painful, he holds back because the whole point of this is. The purpose of it is to teach her a lesson.
Right, because what does he do at the end of the sparring thing? He goes from sparring to dropping to his knees to meditate, to go into meditation. So he showed, look, I don't have to take you out. I can stop and meditate.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a whole thing here that is important to the growth of Raffi's character.
Yeah, it's not his sparring. This is not anger that's driving him. It's calculating.
Right.
We got a super chat from Aston Nerdboy. I didn't like Raffi this episode for the most part. Even in defeat, Raffi was too smug, in my opinion. Jedi Worf is cool, though. That's fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair because the character is... that makes sense. That's all I'll say for now. Yeah. Let's see if... You know what, Astro Nerdboy? Let's see if Worf can have some sort of impact on her going forward.
Right, because that's what happens. All right. So let's go back to the part we just talked about. Sorry. So they're being denied access to investigate Daystrom. Can you explain this to me, Shane? If their handler is Ro, why is she denying them access?
Well, probably because she was denied it. It's part of what's going on. I mean, we haven't got to that part, but so yeah, if we're not there with us yet, we learn that Ro is their handler, is Worf's handler, and basically, she must be coming up against some sort of and they don't explain it. But you just have to assume that, that they're coming against some sort of she's obviously she doesn't trust her captain. I mean, we're not there yet to talk about it. So
that's true, but
maybe we can come back and
hopefully we can come back. I'd like to come back to that then.
Yeah, because I hate to talk about Road and we're not there yet,
Yeah, and so he says access is impossible without authorization. So, how did Sneed get access? And she makes the mention had you not cut off his head. And I love his callback. He's like, I was saving someone who disobeyed orders.
No, it was a nice little back and forth.
And then they pull up Sneed's boss or whatever, associated, whatever. Krin, the crime lord. Krin.
A Vulcan crime lord.
Oh, we're not there yet, Shem. We're not there yet, bro.
That's what he said.
Okay, my bad. Um,
in the scene.
I like how they don't show his image because they're trying to like leave it as a surprise. I think that's pretty rad.
Maybe they don't have his image on file. Maybe they don't know who he is.
Maybe, or maybe
You
they're
know, when you're looking for somebody,
or
but you
maybe
don't
they wanted to be a surprise when Krin pops up.
know. Maybe.
Oh, I did like this. I'm gonna give this an upvote. Everyone's like gone from District 6, and he explains that because he murdered Sneed and company. They are now the top dogs. They're now the Sharks, like almost
They're
like
the
prison.
Alphas.
They're the alphas. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like
And
prison.
then,
Like everyone always says when you go to prison, which I never want to test this theory out, but from what I've been told, if you go to prison, you need to find the biggest guy there. Just go up to the biggest dude or woman, whatever you're in there for, and just beat the crap out of him in front of everyone. Exert your dominance, right?
you know, the biggest guy in prison, I always wanted to tell this story. The biggest guy in prison must be like, God dang it, every single day.
Right? He's like,
You know, like,
guys,
I
I'm
need-
really a nice guy. He's like, I like to read. I plant flowers on the weekends. Can everyone stop beating me up? And it's usually like the guy with like the short king who's like has like a complex who's running everything, you know?
Right, right.
Anyways, that's pretty much what happens here because they killed the existing crime monarch. They took its place.
Yeah, and Raffi takes this, and it really shows the difference. And I think they're playing it up, for those of you who are like, I can't stand Raffi. They are really playing up the differences in these characters. You notice that she immediately goes, all right, so we're going to have some fun with this. And she becomes like the, calling everybody out and calling out the character, like, we're here for you, blah, 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 right? And what does Worf do? He basically goes into a meditating position.
Yeah.
So it is not lost on us that there is a dichotomy being drawn up here between the two characters.
Right. Yeah, and it's different for sure. Okay, now we're back on the Titan. Oh God, thank God. All right, back on the Titan.
I love this ship shot. I like to upvote.
By the way,
this.
nothing against the B story. I've always had this like odd issue with the part of the story that's less important. I feel like a lot of shows, modern shows, spend a lot of time in the less important story, for a variety of reasons. But like for me specifically, it drives me nuts. Unless you're talking about Quantum Leap, which all I care about is the B story.
I really love this shot here with the ships. There's this wonderful. I got to tell you, I love Dave Blass and his work. His whole team. We were supposed to have Dave on the Raw Rant show on Monday, but he's not going to be able to make it. We're going to have somebody else instead. But just cannot say enough great things about. I mean, these ships look like models, man. I say that a lot, but they really do. The detail.
Yeah.
They look like they are really there, and it's they just do a great job. Even the cinematography of the way they set up these shots and the way the camera pans, it's just really well done.
Yeah, you know what? I love that they included the light source here because, like, even in older Star Trek, whenever two ships met, I remember being younger and thinking to myself, where the hell is the light coming from? Because these ships, they're lit up, like you can see everything in detail, like they're having a battle.
That's true.
But they're in deep space. There's no light.
Well, it would have been impossible back then to do that properly. So
I don't think so. I think adding a light source is like a nebula is a light source, a star in this sense, or a sun or whatever is a light source. Like,
well, I'm saying, like, if you go back to TOS and TNG, the graphics were expensive.
That's
Any
true.
sort of, most of it was, had to be constructed, especially on TOS. Then TNG, we were just getting into the age of computers. And I mean, really until maybe Enterprise, I would say it started to become something that could actually be done.
I guess so. I don't agree with you, actually. I don't agree with you. I understand your point, but I believe like if you can have a model, you can have a light source.
Okay, but I'm saying when you talk about the expense of creating these types of things back then,
there's
a reason why there were so very few models in TOS.
So the models were just like Yeah, I know, but they would. You tell me they just shot him against a starfield or whatever. I'm just saying, why couldn't you add? Again, they only had like 5 or 6 establishing shots. Why not put in those establishing shots like a light source that made sense?
Well, because every scene's different. Where the ships are, you got to move the light source. I'm just telling you, it's expensive.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now there's the Intrepid shows up, and the Intrepid is going to be sending over a shuttle of security officers. And
can we stop here for a second? I want to I want to address something really quick. I'm looking at this shot. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it too dark to enjoy? I'm lost on these constant complaints that the show's too dark. Please, someone tell me what is so dark in this shot that you can't enjoy every element of it. You can see Seven's face, Picard's face, at least half of it, half of Riker's. You can see the chair, the walls, the floor.
Right.
I'm confused as to why people are so. I mean, I we'll save this, of course, for what one of the things we're going to talk about afterwards. But ask yourself if you're upset because of how dark it is, as a result of the fact that you're pissed that it doesn't look exactly like TNG did in the
Right.
80s, or is it because it really, really, truly bothers you? Because I'm going to be 50 this year, and it hasn't taken me out of the show yet. So I'm just confused, I guess.
Yeah. So the confusing part for me is I get it. It doesn't look like classic TNG. But in a lot of regards, thank God, because classic TNG had some pretty cheesy stuff going on. I mean, look, should I'll criticize classic TNG. Should the bridge have plush carpet? Probably not. Probably not.
Right. I mean, but that's what we were used to.
Should there be plants in the corner? Probably not.
I'm just trying to figure out what the argument is.
Yeah.
So, like, if it's too dark, now listen, Game of Thrones was too dark. I couldn't see what the hell was happening.
Right.
I couldn't see the action. I didn't know what people were doing. It was so dark. I just haven't had that experience here. So is it a matter of, I just wish I could see more? I don't know. I'm just not having that experience. Maybe other people are. And that's like the one complaint people fall back on. So when it's like, we say, well, what don't you like about the show? It's always, well, it's too dark.
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And no, I'm 100% with you because it's not taking me out of the show. It's not ruining anything for me. If I had my preference, it would be brighter, I suppose. But my preference is always a little brighter.
Yeah, maybe my problem is that I care more about the characters and the story than about the colors and what things look like. Maybe, I mean, that might just be my personal preference. Like, I'm all in on like what's happening with the characters, what the story is. And I think maybe that's where my focus is. And maybe for other people, the reason is that they really want to see like the details on things. And maybe that's what it is. So I'm just honestly curious to know what the difference is, because I haven't been able to, it hasn't taken away any of my enjoyment by the set not being the same lighting as the TNG original series.
Yeah. Like I said, I think my preference is a little brighter, but it's not taking me out of the story. So it's just not.
Maybe that's the difference. Yeah.
But what I think my biggest complaint is that people are like hanging their hats. Like, it's like they can't find enough to criticize. So they're going to criticize like the cinematic lighting of the show. And here's the deal. I'm actually getting a little annoyed. Everything nowadays has this lighting. Everything's cinematic. Everything. Right? Unless you're set on a desert planet or a Tatooine or something.
It's shot in daylight.
Right. It's going to have this lighting. It's going to have this cinematic, like, big screen of effect. Yeah. They didn't do that back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. They didn't. Have you seen the new Quantum Leap versus the old Quantum Leap? Look, the old Quantum Leap was great, but parts of it were cheesy, graphics didn't look good, and it was very bright, right? It's more dramatic and there's more emotion when the shot, has the cinematic lighting. You don't have to like it, but if that's your only complaint, then, are you being
After Nerd Boy has a good point here. Can you read his super chat real quick?
Oh, I didn't see it. What?
It just came up.
Oh.
He says, you got it?
Yeah, I got it. Go ahead.
He says, I can't see it well on my screen, number one. And number two, in the real world, I don't work in the dark. it doesn't need to be TNG bright, but I want to see things. Okay, so number one, good point. I can't see it well on my screen. See, that definitely could be a thing. Like I'm not having any problem on my screen seeing things,
Right.
but I recognize other people may. Everybody's got a different type of television,
That's true.
computer screen. So that definitely could be one of them. Number two, in the real world, you don't work in the dark, but I can tell you this because I'm prior Navy and I worked in combat systems when I was active duty. It's always dark inside. So not saying that, now if you go into the hangar bay, it's brightly lit, but on the bridge, it's dark. So you don't work in the dark, but they do. That said, you want to see things. You're watching a TV show.
I understand that completely. Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah, in the Navy, specifically in like submarines, it was. I don't think it was lit up.
Well, submarines. Well, I mean, I've been on submarines too. So in the combat information areas where actual decisions are being made, it's dark. Okay, they keep it dark intentionally because all of the screens are monitors are bright and they have to be able to see them. It would not work well if it was lit well in there.
That's a good point because when I work, I have 4 screens. I purposely dim my lights about halfway for that same exact reason because I don't want there to be any glare on my screens while I'm editing.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the production team. Probably, I mean, I think they're definitely trying to mirror like the inside of a vessel to that degree, but you're also in space. They also want it to be cinematic. So I think these went with a lot of the decisions to shoot it this way, but we've probably spent too much time on how dark it is. I hear it constantly. And so I'm like, I just want to know what I'm missing.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong either, but I don't know.
I'm just saying I don't get it.
Right. And my question is it an actual complaint or are people or detractors like hanging their hat on something that they know is a sore spot for some people?
Well, maybe some of it is an actual complaint, like what Astro Nerd Boy says. Look, I can't see the well on my screen. And then I think there are some detractors that live in a cult. By the way, call your dad. You're in a cult. You know who we're talking about. And
I'm not in a cult.
Those people are like, yeah, it's dark. Didn't you see that? So like there is some of that going on too. But
we got a super chat from Big Worm. Darkness and light implies feelings. It's dreary. It's not that it's quote unquote dark. It's that it's always dark. Red Alert battle stations. Dark Voyager did this. People don't work in the dark 100%. LLP. Living long and prosper.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. They don't. And everywhere on the ship should not be dark. 100% true. The only argument I have is on the bridge. It probably should be darker. The way it was lit in TNG, look, that's the way they had to shoot things, but that's not probably the way it should have been. But other places, there's no reason why sickbay needs to be dark. That's for sure.
Well, yeah. So that is a complaint for me. Like, whenever we go to sickbay, I do feel like sickbay, just like every hospital, should be like bright white.
You want the doctors to see what they're doing.
Right.
But look, it was a shooting choice. And I guess overall the big point is, I mean, we can be nitpicking nerds if we want to be, but it's just not taking me out of the story. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Do we need perfection in everything that we see and do? I would say if you're being emotionally satisfied and you're going through this and you're enjoying it, then that's probably what's most important. We could always ask for more things to be better. I mean, gosh, can't we get like every person back from TNG on the show? Can we get where's Barkley at? Let's get them all in here, but I think that the showrunners and
Barkley has a holo addiction.
Did the best they could.
He's currently spending time with Deanna Troi, just not the real Deanna Troi.
Come on, they worked that out.
Dude, the sickbay thing does remind me of like those CSI. I don't know if you ever watched like CSI Miami or whatever. Whenever they show the inside of the crime lab, it's like everything's pitch black except for that one little table they're working on. And that's because they didn't have the money to properly build a set out,
Yeah.
All right. I forgot what was going on now because of this whole discussion.
Okay, well, back to it here. Oh, this is great. So Starfleet is coming to them, and apparently they're here. So we got the USS Intrepid has come to, and they basically told them, listen, shut down and wait orders, basically.
So now the shuttle. They're sending a shuttle, and Shaw says, I wonder when they're bringing a shuttle.
Right, and so they're in the turbo lift going down, and Shaw's just like, he's giddy. He's getting here. He's like, just, yeah, it's my moment, right? And so he's kind of, they're irritated. Picard's like irritated, like, why are
Right.
you, and Riker a little bit. He's like, we did save the galaxy a few times, right? And that's when Shaw just starts letting in on him, right? And he's like, oh yeah, but you're also the ones who like, dumped the hot drop the
saucer section of the Enterprise D, yeah.
section on a planet. And then he talks about Picard like breaking the prime directive with that girl in Insurrection.
He's snogging with that chick from Baku.
Right. So it was funny. He had this moment, and I love at the end of it because he basically says, he uses the analogy of the chicken and the egg with like their relationship with disaster and like saving people.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what came first? And it's like, wow, it's such a really good point. And then we finally get the line from Picard where he's like, and we saw it a million times, he's like, those were the days, right?
Yeah.
That's what we saw in all the trailers. I'm like, okay, now I get, and that's kind of sarcastic a little bit what he's saying. So
yeah, it's rad.
Upvote moment for me, 100%.
Yeah, for me too. We got a super chat from Andre Benson. Got a 15-year-old LCD flat screen. Looks fine to me. Yeah, I also have a 15-year-old. Dude, those 15-year-old LCD flat screens, they work. Now, they're 400 pounds, but I still have the very first flat screen TV I bought like 15 or 16 years ago now, easily. The first one I can afford, all right? I bought it. It's a Panasonic, and it's still running, bro. And it sounds great, and it looks great.
I wonder, that's cool. I wonder if there's people with older television. That could be the thing, is like, there could be people with older sets. I'm not exactly sure. Nowadays, smart TVs have like all these different settings. You can do like sports setting.
Right.
It's like all these settings. I'm not even sure how the hell to set mine up most of the time.
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
like, I get it. I get it.
Do you remember that time in Florida?
Oh yeah.
We were in Florida with our dad. We did like this trip to Florida to watch football or something. I don't even remember what it was, Shane.
It was Dolphins game.
Something, yeah. So football. I don't follow football. And we wanted to watch a movie. So our dad went and bought a TV from Target. Like, we're in another state. And he buys a TV and we're watching a movie, and we set it up, watching a movie, and I am stressing out the whole time. I'm like, I don't know, I don't get it. Why does it look like this? The TV was set onto like non-blurry sports mode, high FPS or something. I don't know. But basically it like removed all the motion blur and it like artificially like inserted frames, and it would look like a soap opera, and it was pissing me off. Like we ended up taking before the movie ended, we took the TV, put it back in the box, and took it back.
Yes, special note though, everybody else in the room was fine with the way it looked. It was just one person who wasn't fine with it.
I couldn't handle it, dude.
Listen, I get it. Like, if Brian and I can't agree on the way something looks, I understand if some of you guys, aren't seeing it as well as you'd like to. So that's it.
Right. Yeah. All right. Just feeling chipper. I love this part.
He's such a great character.
And there's the reveal.
Yeah. So it goes from being from levity. And then to very serious all of a sudden. And look, I got to tell you guys, nobody saw this coming. Like, we didn't even really consider, I wasn't even thinking of it as being a big reveal or any sort of reveal when this happened. You saw the character from the back, and then it flips around to the front. And for a second you go, wait a second. I know who that is. Right. Wasn't that because she almost doesn't look like herself. She's older. Obviously she's 29 years older.
I think she's also missing like a mole or something. I saw someone say, "Where's her mole?" And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah." But there was a moment of like I had to double check and be like, "Oh my God, it is Ensign Rowe." Now Commander Rowe,
right? So. Commander Rowe Laren,
and she looks mad.
Yeah, she's pissed. She's pissed at her former boss. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, going into all that's going to be interesting.
That's true.
So initially she comes up and tells him, hey, we're here. We need to talk to you guys for possible treason.
Oh,
yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. All right. Now, Seven hooks up with Jack, and he's like, listen, we got to get you somewhere they can't find you. And this is when she gives them the uniform.
Yeah. So, in a minute she will. Yeah. So
right.
Picard asked her to do him a favor. and that was to hide Jack, basically.
Right. I see. All right. All right. Now you want to explain this part? You're better at the emotional stuff.
Look at that sour puss right there. So when you go back to the history of Ro and Picard, what we know is that Ensign Ro came in the, I think it was the fourth season of TNG. And, she's got a variety of episodes. What do we remember most from Ro? She was, she bucked authority, right? That was kind of her big thing. But the one thing that she did do, she built a close relationship with Picard. Picard and Guinan were the two relationships she was really close to. And they had some like weird sexual tension between her and Riker, if you guys recall. There was a couple of times. Remember when they lost their memory and they like think they might be a couple or something like that?
But to be fair, Riker had sexual tension with everyone.
That's true. Even the androgynous aliens.
Yeah.
No, I get it. He was a sexy bearded man.
Yeah. Plus the maneuver, the Riker maneuver.
Yes.
That is like, it's literally a mating dance that he does everywhere he goes.
Stepping over chairs to sit down. I agree.
To show his prowess. Sorry, go ahead.
So it's fine. So essentially, the last time that they're together, so Picard sends Ro to infiltrate the Maquis, right? And then Ro turns, like she becomes a Maquis. And she kind of, it didn't end well between her and Picard, let's say, during season 7 of The Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last we saw. Michelle Forbes was supposed to be in DS9. She ended up turning down the role.
Mistake.
And she did. She turned down the role. I don't know all the details of it, but essentially she wanted to do other projects. She wanted to be in movies. I think she kind of thought her career was going to be bigger, and she didn't want to get stuck in Star Trek. I really think that's probably what happened. So we ended up with Kira, but the Kira character from DS9 was supposed to be Ro Laren.
That makes a lot of sense, and I didn't like the Kira's character, so
she was going to be Cisco's, first officer.
That would have been rad, actually.
Yeah, it would have worked out well. And I bet if you asked Michelle now, looking back, she'd been, I wish I would have done that.
Right.
So, but it didn't work out that way. So now we're learning that there is this, there is a hidden emotion that's been kept away here, and you can see it showing up on Picard's face. We learn here in just a moment. If you can go forward just a touch.
Boop. Oh, how much? Where do you want to go?
I mean, just go to the next scene because
I see.
Nothing's really happened. Now, this is where you said he got the Starfleet uniform.
Yes.
And you're right. He has this look on his face because
the dream. Yeah, because he had the vision where he's wearing that uniform, right?
Right.
And
so now he's like, oh, crap.
And he knows he's not like there's something going on in his head. Something's going on. So what if he gets it? What if it was a premonition they saw? Oh, right. Now, it wasn't.
Right.
But
Yeah,
what if he thinks that,
Yeah, 100%. He doesn't know what the heck's going on. He's confused. Or so we think.
I mean, I think he is confused.
We don't really know what's going on in his head yet.
Right.
So then we get to Beverly, Dr. Ock, and
real quick, super chat from Astro Nerd Boy. My jaw dropped when Ro showed up. I didn't even know I wanted Ro episode until we got it. Great writing to make that happen. Yes.
Astro Nerd Boy. Yeah, we're going to talk about it more here in a second. But if you would have said, like, what characters do you not want to come back to Picard season 3? Number 1 on my list would have been Polanski. And number 2 probably would have been Ro. Because
number 2 is Tasha Yar.
Well, for you. I was actually
for
okay
everyone.
With
okay.
I was okay with it. That is absolutely not true. There are a lot of people who absolutely love Tasha
all right.
Yar.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm not saying I was not the biggest
Polanski
fan.
gets a bad rap, dude.
Who?
Dr. Polanski, whatever her name is.
No, dude, listen, she's the one who unleashed Moriarty. So so heads up on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that epic character.
She didn't believe Data, right? She was basically pulling him down. So anyways, I'm not a big fan of Pulaski, okay? She wasn't there very long.
But Tasha Yar's character was so over the top, dude. She escaped the rape gangs.
It was weird. Now, that's not her fault, but yeah, I get it. But anyways, when yesterday's Enterprise came back and they went through that whole thing and then she ended up, having a kid, it played well down the road into future Star Trek episodes, whether you like it or not.
Sure.
So a lot of people did. So in this case, you've got Beverly. They're getting ready to do a post-mortem on this changeling, and you have, this is a great part of this scene right here. You have Ensign LaForge looking at herself dead on the table, and you got to just say this is such a great, in the moment thing here for the production team to do, because how would you feel if you saw yourself laying there dead, right? Knowing it's not you, but like looking at you, right? And so she has this reaction, she throws up, and but we learned something really important here, that the changelings actually have blood.
Yes. Evolution.
Plasma, which is something that's new.
Yeah. Life finds a way.
Right. Yeah. I think they go into that a little more here coming up soon. But now the Starfleet security or Ro has them put here because they're going to be questioned. And this is where we finally learn that Picard's mad at Ro, Laren.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we really knew that he was mad at her. Not really.
Right.
He kept his emotions in check all the time. But he starts like laying into her. She wants to call us traitors. Well, she was a traitor first, right? And so you got Riker trying to be the reasonable one.
Let me add to that. Though everything that Picard was saying was how I felt about Ro Laren. Like literally the whole time. I didn't like the character during TNG. I didn't understand her vibe. I felt like she was just a bad Starfleet officer. And what's amazing about this, again, like Astro Nerdboy said, I didn't know I wanted this. And then when it ends, you're like, oh damn. Now I wish I would have seen that character that way when she was playing 30 years ago.
And this is why this season is so important, because the characters have developed over time. This Ro Laren is a person who has 29 years of experience. And now we can connect with the character and go, oh my God, there's so many different layers to this character that we did not understand at the time that was going on. And now we get it.
Right.
And that's what makes this beautiful.
See, I felt the same way. I felt she was a bad Starfleet officer. So,
well, I mean, she obviously bucked authority, but they saw something in her. They saw some sort of, promise in her, some potential, and also, Will Wheaton was off the show. They needed another young face. So that's how she ended up on there.
We got Geeking with James Hancock for $10. Thank you, James.
Yeah, James is going to be on our show Monday on Raw Rant.
So sure that's the James. Yeah, Shane was telling me. I didn't know which one he was talking about. I can't wait to see you. He says, quick questions about the changelings and their abilities. Explain to me the hand trick that Vadic pulled in episode 4. I'm going to explain it to you the way I explain when anyone asks me for a spoiler. Fascinating. That's just it. It would be a spoiler, I think.
Well, I'll tell you this. What do we know about the changelings? Like, you go back to the Great Link, right? Mm-hmm. Have we ever seen a changeling break off into two different changelings? I mean, I don't know. There must be some sort of thing there, but we can't really probably talk about it. But
no, there's no way to talk about this without spoiling it.
But what I'm saying is if you think about how the changelings work and you're familiar with DS9 and you know that they do this intermingling thing, right? The changelings.
Great Link.
Not just the Great Link, but if two changelings want to get to know each other better, so to speak, they can do what is it? Molding. They can merge together.
Ooh.
Okay. We all know what Odo was doing.
Look, I would be lying if I said I didn't merge last night a little bit.
I'm just saying maybe Vadic merged. You know what I'm saying?
I often merge. All over the place. I'm really into merging.
So the point is that good question, James.
I want to see two changelings merge together and make a bigger changeling.
I feel like I've seen that cartoon. So.
Yeah, we've seen that. Yeah.
Anyways, hopefully all questions will be answered moving forward. But that's where, when I first saw it, that's where my mind went, was to the merging that Odo did with a couple other changelings.
Yes, the Great Link.
Thanks for the super chat, James.
Thank you, James. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that on Monday.
Yes.
So this is when Riker's defending him, though, to Picard. She's like, she's always been an outsider. She wasn't understood. But his reaction, Picard's reaction, is exactly how I feel at this point, up until this point. Exactly how I feel about the character.
I mean, you were worried about Ro being a traitor, like that was weighed heavily on you, or you just didn't like that she was not, a get in line officer, right?
I didn't like that she was there to question Picard.
Oh,
Laren,
you mean in this episode?
right? Like, why is she even back in Starfleet?
Okay,
Like,
okay.
why
Gotcha,
is she there? She doesn't deserve.
So you're there with him. You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm. Everything he's saying, I'm 100% on board with.
Got it.
Which
Okay.
was
No,
the great fake out. It was like, oh damn, this character's actually pretty awesome. Damn it.
Right.
Anyways, okay. And when Riker does say you mentored her.
Dude, I love this right here. He's like, better let me do the talking. And it was done in such a way, it's like, I can't let Picard say anything because he looks like, look at the look on Picard's face. He's going to strangle her, dude. Like he's going to like old man her, like not knowing what's going on.
He's gonna pull out those false teeth and just gum her down.
Let me tell you what, you didn't see this Picard in seasons 1 or 2. That's for damn sure.
James says, looking forward to merging with y'all.
Well said, brother. Well said.
Anyways, yeah, I did like this. Riker's like, you better let me do the talking, because this guy's like, he's like pulling his teeth out, he's rolling his arms up,
he's like he's rolling up his sleeves, like
right, yeah. Say, oh hell no. Okay.
Well, Ro comes in with her 2 security helpers, I guess is the way they look right now.
And I think this is a moment, by the way, real quick. I don't want to gloss over it, and I'll let you continue. But when she says most of the ship's crew has been sent to the Intrepid, like,
she's sending most of the Crips right now. She's sending them. They're not there yet.
Right. So yeah, I remember the first time watching this, being like, what did the rest of the crew do wrong? Right. Now we find out why.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But it was interesting. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, that's not something I caught, I think, the first time we watched it.
Right,
I was too caught up in this moment. I'm like, oh my God.
This moment was hard. Yeah.
I wasn't. But so she's there. She's as cold as ice. Dun, dun, dun.
Why is her pips like that? Someone else asked that. I have the same question. Do you know? Maybe you don't know.
I don't
If
know.
anyone knows, let us know.
They're wearing the same uniform.
Yeah, but her pips are like up and down.
Can you go back to Riker's uniform?
Yeah, everyone else's pips are on their collar the way it normally is, but her pips are up and down.
That's going to be a question for our guest on Monday on Raw Rant. We will get the answer to that question.
We will get the answer.
We're going to be very nice to our guest, Brian. Treat him wonderfully because we want all the good information.
Look, guys, if anybody watches this, we're never gonna be mean on stream, okay?
You just did this, like on
because people are worried about like coming on the stream. Like, no, we're not gonna like attack you viciously. Like, look at whatever we're doing here. This is what we're gonna do there. Like, we're not gonna completely.
Some people may not be comfortable with what we're doing here.
Are you? Wait, you have a problem with me merging every night?
You got a problem with me merging?
Look, if you have a problem merging with us, okay.
You got a problem with a dark screen, huh? What? Come on.
Sorry. These like off conversations. I'm sorry.
This is why you love spending 3 hours with us breaking down.
Randy Dixon. The review and the breakdown is like twice as long as the episode.
They don't come for the breakdown; they come for the humor. I'm sure. So you got Ro here. She basically says, you need to be questioned independently, and she's basically acting like they're guilty. And and even Riker's like, he had been defending her a minute ago, and now he's like, screw that. He's kind of pissed at her too now, right?
Right.
He's being separated, blah, blah, blah. So she tells the other 2 security people to take Riker out.
Which is a classic technique among, police and security. When they're questioning people, like, they purposely try to separate them. Like, they're not going to just question them in the same room. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a lot of experience with that. You know what's going on.
Hey. Hey. I wasn't always the upstanding YouTuber you see before you. Okay.
Gotcha.
I really enjoy
Look at
merging.
that
That's all I'm
face.
saying. I'm a big fan of merging.
Listen, guys, the acting in this scene and
Yeah.
all the scenes upcoming with these guys are fantastic. Look at Stewart's face here.
Yeah. You posing
Like
as a commander of Starfleet.
like he really, yeah, I mean, he gives it to her. And I got to tell you, you can see that she's trying to hold it together because she knows something that he doesn't, right? Which we're about to learn.
Yes.
She knows that,
And
so
she
she wants to go ahead.
so she does say, I heard about your changeling problem. And then she cuts her hand to show that she's not a changeling, which this 100% would put this to bed if we didn't know what we know now about the changelings.
Right. Well, especially what we're about to find out in just a second.
And then this is what I love about this. They already sorry. They had already shown the audience that the blood trick doesn't matter. But the audience knows that Picard has not been privy to that information yet.
That's right. And there's also, yeah, that's true. And there's also another piece of information coming. I want to upvote this whole scene. The acting is just fantastic.
Same.
I know there's something deeper happening here. Just love what's happening between these two characters. Basically, Picard won't let up on the fact that she, on the things that she did wrong, and she throws right back at him the fact that he stole the Titan.
Right.
So there's this going back and forth, and so what you tell, like, oh wow, these guys are really angry at each other, like on a deeper level.
Right. And he does ask her about her earring.
But he uses it to berate her even further. He says,
this is why. Sorry, go ahead.
I see you're not wearing your Bajoran earring.
Another institution you've turned your back on.
Another institution, right? So it's like.
But you know what's crazy is though, like as the audience, we know that they can pass blood, and she so clearly offers the blood trick to him, right?
Right.
And then when he points out the earring, it's the audience is being led down a path to make you believe that she is a baddie.
Yes, that's the point. Right. No, 100%. You've nailed it. Like right now we're like, okay, they just brought back one of our old legacy characters, but she's a damn changeling. That's what we're thinking.
$5 from Sean. Thank you, Sean. Ro makes sense to lead the investigation for Starfleet intelligence because the Dominion / Jem'Hadar took out most of the Maquis. Okay.
Yeah, good point, Sean.
I got to go back and watch DS9, I think, because there are things I'm missing.
Yeah, well, if you want, the Dominion War is pretty crazy, and especially, you know what? Watch the show, but holy cow, go back and read like the history of the Dominion War, not from the show, and like you learn so much that you don't always get from the show that you don't pick up.
Astro Nerdboy at $5 in DS9, Changeling Martok was already getting around the blood screenings from the start, slicing himself and bleeding to prove himself. Really?
100% true. Well said. Yes, he did. That's true.
What were the other changelings having that problem, or was he unique? I don't know. Someone tell me. This is why I need to watch more DS9.
Yeah, don't ask questions you should know, sir. And then, yeah.
I mean, I don't remember that. That's why. Like I said, I probably need to go back and watch more DS9.
DS9 is, it's different than the exploration of Voyager, and it's different flavor, but they're all great. And yeah.
All right, save your animosity, Admiral. All right, so they're going at each other. This is that moment you were talking about earlier. Hear me.
Oh yeah, he's really like, he's really having some struggles here. He's like having a mental delusional breakdown.
Yeah.
And I think she says something really important here. This is a female voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says 3 things here that I think are important. She says,
I lost it.
She says basically, I think she says, says connect us.
Yeah.
Connect us. That was one of the key words there.
Yeah. Connect us.
Right.
Hear me. Connect us. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now he's back in the corridor. It's about to get fun, Shane. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
And this is wild. So he's having another vision or whatever, and he's seeing people that are transporting to the Intrepid, and that same licorice red vines are like emanating from their core.
Licorice red vines. Like, yeah, you're hungry, aren't you?
I'm starving actually right now. I haven't eaten all week. And the transporter chief's like, "Are you ready to beam to the Intrepid yet?" Anyways,
Well, he snaps Jack out of it. So Jack's in like this trance, right? And then he comes back and he's like, so we have this moment, and of course Jack kills him on the spot. But then we realize that's just a fantasy.
right.
So it's like the dream within the dream is very interesting. And we realize how layered, deeply thick this whole thing is that's going on with Jack.
I like that too. He's like, "Is there somewhere else I can go?" And the guy's like, "No."
Right. Like,
Um.
this is it.
All right. So now we're back on Metalis. Or would you like me to correct me again and say, no, it's the La Sirena? Okay, I'm kidding.
Okay, look. Does it look like they're on the La Sirena? Sorry.
The La
I don't need
Sirena
to correct you. You said
is
the right
on
thing.
Metalis. We need to call Terry and ask him, is the La Sirena parked on Metalis? We need to figure out this argument.
We will ask Matt on Monday.
Okay. Start writing down all the questions we need.
James, make a note. You're out there. We're going to ask Matt, where is the La Sirena parked?
Right.
Okay, that's what we
Is it in orbit or is it on Metalis? If it's on Metalis, then Shane owes me an apology. All right.
Well, I don't owe an apology. They don't actually say where it is.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Now
I apologize to you anyway, sir.
we get our first look at Krin, the Vulcan crime lord. And I just noticed something, that he's missing one of his pointed ears. How awesome is that?
Oh, you're right. It is like eaten up a little
It's
bit.
like he's like a boxer or whatever. Like he got it cut off.
Yeah, and if this person looks familiar, well, it's none other than 12 Monkeys regular Kirk Acevedo, who played Ramsey on the Time Travel Masterpiece. If you guys haven't seen 12 Monkeys, like, while you're waiting for the next episode of Picard to come out, start 12 Monkeys today, because you will not regret if you love science fiction and you love time travel. Also made by Terry Matalas.
Yes. No, I agree. That show is amazing. Mr. Tickertrunk said DS9 Changelings stole blood to use for screenings. See, I knew I wasn't wrong.
Nobody said you were wrong.
No, someone said that he got around the blood screen the same way. Like, so he wasn't cutting his hand then. They had stolen blood to use for the screenings.
Right, but they were probably incorporating it.
No, but so the way that chat was worded is, I thought that at some point another changeling had that ability that the changelings in this show have.
Oh no, not to that degree.
Okay,
but they were using blood. Absolutely.
I remember the stealing blood. Okay, that's why I was like, is that like another evolution of that or whatever? No, okay.
Yeah.
Foxhound for $1.99. Thank you, Foxhound. Holy sheet! It's Jason Bourne, Jack Rowe, amazing.
Oh yeah, we're almost there.
We're almost there.
Yeah, when we get to that scene, Foxhound, thank you for that.
That's a double up.
Right.
Yeah.
You were right. Good. That was like, I used a different analogy, but Jason Bourne was the first thing that came to my mind. But then the next one, and I'll tell you when we get there, I thought sounded a little better.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah, a logical crime lord. It makes sense.
It will make sense.
Yeah, it does.
Well, yeah, when we get to it, yeah.
He's wearing the IDIC pin or pendant or whatever.
That's not what it's actually called, right? You're just calling it that.
No,
it's the Kol Ut Shan.
I understand, but like the English vernacular for that is IDIC.
Well,
I know that's what Vulcans call it, and I know that you and I disagree with it being called that, but that's what it's called, IDIC.
Yeah.
And you don't like that.
Vulcans, I don't think the Vulcans would have called it the IDIC.
Shane does not like the IDIC. And I guess
I don't like the fact that it's called that. I just think that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's like not really a Vulcan. It's not logical, right?
It's not Star Trek either. I mean, IDIC and what it means and stands for, sure, that may be a tenet on, but it's, calling that thing the IDIC necklace is dumb.
Yeah, you're saying co-opting that symbol that didn't mean that originally to mean that now is dumb.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah.
What's funny is him wearing it in regards to the original meaning makes more sense.
Agreed.
All right. All right. So this is great. You want to explain this? What happens here? This scene?
He basically okay. So yeah. So what happens is Raffi and Worf are standing there, and all of a sudden, Krin just shoots Raffi, right? And then we learn that, oh my gosh, she was a hologram. Okay, and Worf has been saying like, "We've got you, right? You know, whatever. We've got you figured out." Well, Raffi had been sitting up on top of a building somewhere with him in her sights, and basically was gonna, take him down or whatever.
Right.
And so, but he's like one up on him. He knows that he sees that there's a mobile emitter,
He's using the mobile emitter.
right? And then he has somebody dispatched to like take her out. I mean, obviously, this Vulcan is not a dummy.
Yeah, and my question is, and we don't get the answer this episode, but like, are there more than one mobile emitter now? Is it a common thing?
Well, if you think about it, when Voyager came back, it's why couldn't they reproduce it?
They couldn't reproduce it on Voyager.
Well, they were off in the Delta Quadrant. They may not have been able, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
put all the great minds together, and I'm sure they figure it out, right?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Voyager like completely changed the future then. That's a pretty big piece of technology.
Well, here's the really great question. What do you think these characters would think if they realized it's 29th century tech brought to us from the Borg?
No, not the Borg. No, I was wrong about that. It was brought to us by the time ship, the Baxton time ship.
Oh, it was the time ship, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, and it was actually not. It was not Voyager. I learned this morning after watching the episode. It wasn't Voyager that got the technology. It was a guy from the 21st century, from our century, that found the crashed time ship and was using it to like invent things and profit off. And they ran into, they got Baxter or whatever. And
that's why you don't use ChatGPT to look up things.
I was wrong. I told Shane it was the Borg, and he's like, huh, I don't think it was. I'm like, yeah, it was.
I went with you on it because I'm like, okay, because it was the same episode we were watching where the 29th century Borg.
Because the drone episode, and that's what it got. My text got mixed up, and it was like, it makes sense from a story perspective. And then I went back and watched the 2 episodes for the review, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, now I can never believe anything you tell me. So it's all good.
Look, we've came to the conclusion that I cannot use the OpenAI thing to research. It doesn't work. It's broken.
It does not work. Don't use it, guys.
And here's the deal. It says everything with such commanding verbiage that you're like, oh, that sounds right.
That's what computers do.
It literally wrote a story. It took 2 episodes and it mixed the episodes up. Then it mixed the 2 episodes synopsis up. And then fed me the 2 synopsis incorrectly. And I'm like,
created a new Star Trek story.
Created a whole new Star Trek story.
Yeah, you can't trust AI, guys. That's all.
Oh, then I'm watching the episode. I'm like, why is this in the 21st century? There's no Borg in this episode.
Oh, right.
All right. Anyways, yeah. Either way, though, it came from the 29th century. It came from time ship relativity.
Yes. Got it. So. Moving on, he basically has got him, and Worf's like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not how we had planned this.
All right, back on the Titan.
The Changeling's blood. So they've actually gotten into the tissue, and what they've realized is something astonishing, that the Changelings have actually been able to reconfigure their form to make human,
organs.
Anatomy, organs. But when they actually cut down deep, it did go back to the goo form.
Right.
So this is something that, like you said earlier, Beverly says it's evolution. So we learned that they've evolved to do people do this, which is scary because now they can essentially be anyone, anywhere, anytime. Kind of like the movie that
finds a way. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, though. Like, if you can mimic the shape of a person, then eventually, with enough practice, you can mimic the organs of that person, right?
I guess, but usually it's supposed to be based on sight. So they see the person and then they mimic them, right? Now, what was always interesting about the Changelings is they were also able to get all their memories too, which I thought was strange. But this is just much more detailed. So, yeah, I don't know. It's there's a quasi science here that's interesting. Like, how do they know what the organs, or are they just generic organs, perhaps? Maybe not specific to that person's body.
Oh yeah. Maybe they just have, most humans have this similar organs. All right,
Yeah.
that makes sense too. And I guess that would pass the scan, right? It's looking for a heart and a couple lungs and a couple kidneys, right? All the normal stuff's there. Go ahead.
Right.
Cool. Very cool. And that's when she's like, which means they can be anywhere. And she sends the information to Jean-Luc Picard.
Right. So now we're like, oh yeah. Ro is a changeling faux show.
We're gonna find out that she's a changeling.
We're gonna find out right now. And so she sends the message to Picard, and he's like, "Excuse me, give me a moment," and
give me a moment, Ro.
This is private medical matter. And he goes over and looks at the screen, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh no!" Right? Changelings can pass the blood test. Capabilities beyond superficial. Trust no one.
Dun dun dun.
Meaning we should not trust, Ro.
Right. The person behind him right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
You can see the look on his face like, oh, geez.
But look at that framing though. That's rad, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Like that framing where he's reading it and literally over his shoulder is someone who we all think at this moment is a baddie. Is she the baddie? She's the baddie.
Yeah. And well, the look on his face is that of like, oh, what am I going to say now? There's like this, thoughtfulness on his face.
And he's cool. He's got to play it cool. You can't instantly go to the changeling thing, right?
Yeah, and if you thought about it, every changeling we've run into up so far, with the exception of Vadic, has been pretty emotionless.
Right.
So, and you can see the anguish going on here with Laren.
And he starts asking her now questions about her history and her personality, right? He is starting to ask her questions about how she got back into Starfleet.
Yeah, he's getting specific now. He wants, he's trying to flush her out.
He's trying to sort out if it's a changeling or not. Yes, genius. Or do you mean Starfleets? That smile on her face too. All right. The whole time I didn't know if she was changing until we get to the bar, which we're going to get to pretty soon.
Well, you got to remember, she asked about Jack. So also, that's the other thing is, what have the changelings wanted? Jack. And here she is asking about his son.
Right.
So not asking, he's like, you didn't ask about Vadic. You didn't ask about the Shrike. You asked about Jack. So, I mean, he's laying it out here.
Right.
And then, of course, you get this.
You're like, the phaser draw. I'm like, oh, come
on. Right. Not only is she wearing her pips incorrectly, right? Like a changeling would know better.
Yeah.
And then, she pulls out the phaser. She thinks, we think she's a changeling, but maybe, wait, maybe she thinks he's a changeling.
Right. And she's like, step into the holodeck. And I gotta say, this is actually an upvote for me. Ready? When he goes into the holodeck, he tells it to turn off the security protocols.
I'll take an upvote for this too. Actually, I'm gonna take 2 upvotes for this because this is the Captain Picard. This is the Admiral, whatever. This is the version of Picard you want to see. He's conniving, he's meticulous, he's spry, and he gets the drop. Argue that the last 2 seasons of Picard that there's not this Jean-Luc.
Yes, and it was so, safety protocols off, and he knows that Guinan has the phaser behind the bar.
Right.
And it's only it's holographic, so it means it only works if the safety protocols are off. It's so good, man.
And now she, of course, they both don't trust each other, obviously.
Mm-hmm. All right, and that's when they start to get into it. They really get in.
It gets deep, and it's
good.
Just, God, it's so good. It's just,
I didn't know I wanted this. I didn't know I wanted this. I didn't know I cared about emotions between characters until this season, man. Especially a character I never really liked before.
Right. Well, I mean, I always cared about emotions between characters.
I mean, I did, but it was so overused though in previous incarnations of Star Trek that it was like, okay, can we get to the story, please?
Yeah, though there's a danger of having it to be, having the emotions be inconsequential. The thing is the emotions are integral to the story here.
Mm-hmm.
They're integral to our, to time passing between these characters. If this is two other characters that we're seeing on a regular series, you're like, okay, well, maybe there's some emotional moments, but this would have been like the beginning of a new series. Like they're deep into the emotions. I mean, how long did it take before we became emotionally attached to Spock, McCoy, and Kirk and their relationships? It took all the way to the movies, right? To have that deep feeling of connection, the deep emotion. It took time. This took time. It's a natural progressive on how we feel about the characters, and it speaks to how long we've been alive, how long we've been on this earth, our experiences. We now, as older people who watched this when we were younger, can match these experiences to our own and say, oh my God, I freaking relate
Right.
to what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that you can't always do that. So that's what makes this special.
Right.
So, yeah.
I agree,
So
100%. And that
upvote if we didn't get one.
yeah, well, give it another upvote. Screw it.
It's
And
so
you know what?
good.
That was beautifully worded, Shane.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna put it in the podcast just for you. A little 5-minute inspirational speech from Shane. That was great. That was great.
Well, every once in a while I get one.
Every once in a while. Ask Nerdboard for $5. Changelings made Odo human, complete with organs and blood, and originally they were solids. So this new aspect to the Changelings was a minor quibble.
Good point. That is 100% true. One of his punishments was that he had to become human. And the only way he actually became a changeling again is he had to like save a changeling child that was dying, and he merged with him and then became a changeling again.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Merged. The whole meaning of that now just completely left my mind.
This moment here where they're each telling each other, "You broke my heart," and you have this, it's like, I could feel the emotions coming on, but it really wouldn't be until she tells him goodbye, this last moment, that I actually finally like succumb to my moisture in my eyes. Seeing the pain on her face. I mean, this is like what was missing from that character so long ago.
Yes, this character did not have this. It was almost like, is she like just obviously a much better actress now, or was she just written imperfectly back then? Because this character did not have the other side of the emotion. It was just nothing but anger, and there was nothing 3-dimensional there. She was just sort of angry and sarcastic all the time.
Right. And it could be time, but it's also this character is now developed. I mean, I would argue that a lot of us are 2-dimensional in a lot of ways until you've had some life experience. So I don't know.
That's true. Someone said her nose ridges are pretty shallow. I guess you're right. Never noticed that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's as you age, they start to lose their, sharpness or definition. The same way we lose definition in like our muscle when we age.
Possibly. Well, yeah, you'd have to go back to DS9 and look at some of those older Bajorans, maybe.
All right. This whole conversation is great, and that's when she finally tells him that Starfleet has been compromised
At the highest levels.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and it's look, it's not the first time that Starfleet has been infiltrated, but it is something that would be scary, and it really drives this story forward. So now we just don't know, like, what are the changelings after?
Right. Well, we know that they want Jack. That's all we know right now.
So far.
Yeah. All right. So they're squabbling over the death of Sneed. He had a blood oath. I'm sorry. We're back on Metalis Prime.
We get the information.
Yeah, go ahead.
We get the information that we had been they wanted. They wanted to confirm some things, and he actually confirms for them that that Sneed was the liaison for the changelings, right, and that he's the one who got him into Daystrom Station. But it doesn't matter because he's going to make them fight to the death. So
right, fight to the death.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we saw this coming, right? Like, this is foreshadowed. You realize I facilitated the break-in at the Days from Station. I love this. Ergo, an organized criminal enterprise is logical.
It actually makes sense. Like he said that there is no utopia without crime. Right? You can't have a utopia if there's no crime, right? Essentially. So he said, so ergo,
crime is logical.
Crime is logical. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And that's awesome. I'm going to be putting that on a shirt because that's awesome. He specifically organized criminal enterprise is logical.
Yes.
And now you're going to fight to the death because that's what Klingons do.
Or, yeah. They've bet on him. Like, she's not supposed to last, I think, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. Can't remember what it was.
Right. And yeah, then they fight it out and she stabs him.
Now, did anybody for even a moment think that Worf was dead?
No, you know what the crazy thing? I don't want to keep like ragging on other versions of Trek, but like if this had been another version of Trek, I would have assumed that Worf got killed.
Well, yeah.
In battle, of course. Like because that was the track record, you know?
Yeah.
But no, and watching this season, I'm like, there's no way they kill Worf here. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. You might have been watching and been like, oh yeah, they're going to definitely kill off that character and uplift another character that we don't care anything about.
Because that's what they've done for that's in the previous 2 seasons they did that.
Right. And so, but you know that that's not what this season is about. So you're like, okay, interesting what's going on here. And to Michelle Hurd's credit, her acting is really great here.
Yeah.
It's obvious that she already cares about Worf.
Right.
This is not something she wanted to do. She was shocked when he like picked up the knife to fight. She was going to say, nope, ain't doing it. Mm-hmm. But then he's like, fight me. And so she reluctantly does it. There's a change that occurs in her character right here already. A small change. Mm-hmm. And you can see it happening. So stay tuned.
And we do get that awesome line. Today was a good day to die. It's great. It's great.
Love that great line.
It's a worthy death. I love the way he talks. I love everything about this character. Back on the Titan. She's getting into it with Picard, explaining the differences of what's going on with the her investigation. I'm sorry. Going back and forth, it's very difficult to do these reviews sometimes because like we already covered the majority of what they were talking about. So
yeah.
Back to Metalis. Worf is he's dead or he's dying or whatever. He's got a knife wound. I'm sorry. Let's just skip all past all this.
Yeah.
Skip to the part where they actually think he's dead. Which is great. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm so sorry, Worf.
It's funny you already showed him her stabbing him.
I don't know. I must have gone backwards. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Worf. I'm sorry I killed you. Oh my God, Worf. All right. Going back. Oh my God. So did I go the wrong way? What am I doing right now?
Okay, so no, this is good. Hold on.
All right, we're good?
So just real quick, the two two security officers that were with her, we now realize that she was basically giving them the slip.
Oh, with the hologram, the holodeck, right.
Yeah, and so when they go back to look for her, if you notice, the two characters snicker at each other or make some sort of weird alien sound, which tells you, oh, they're changelings. Right. And now they look like they're on the hunt for her.
Yes, they're on the hunt. All right, what does this have to do with Jack? Blah, blah, blah. She doesn't know. All I have is a pair of intelligence assets. And this is when you figure out that.
Yeah, we learned that So that was a really nice connection. Like, she's the handler for Worf. She's the reason why all this is going down. That she trusts them. Picard suggests going to Admiral Janeway with the information.
Right. And she can't get past the gatekeepers. Right.
Right. Which was like a cool nod, which we want. We want nods like that. It makes sense. Janeway's an admiral. She's still rocking it. But Ro can't get to anybody. You're right. So.
And then, so when she does mention that she has the two people or whatever, that's when we click back to Metalis.
She does also say there before you do Metalis is that she asks him about Frontier Day and that she's concerned that all the ships will be there and that something's going to happen.
Oh.
She also divulges that there's been 12 changeling incidents across multiple ships, and they've all been hush-hushed.
Which means that the changeling infiltration is at the top.
Right. Yeah, or otherwise there'd be some shit hitting the fan.
I mean, and to be in reality, it's not logical to have your entire fleet in one place at one time, no matter what, even if there is no changeling infiltration.
Amen, Pearl Harbor.
Right. Sorry for dragging that the old thing up. All right, so we're back on Metalis. Krin's like, my calculations had the Klingon prevailing 10-1. And they check Worf, and he says he's done. He's like, get rid of him. That's when she goes, all right, listen, Starfleet, you work for me now because you have a son and an ex-husband, and she gets in his face, and he gets in her face. He carried a wager on it, and all that doesn't matter because what do you see in the shadows there?
People are getting their butts kicked. That's what I saw in the shadows.
You see Worf.
I love this. Yeah. So apparently he uses he mastered the Kalis technique of lowering his heart rate. Of course, Kalis is the first warrior king and emperor of the Klingon Empire. You know, and so I thought that was cool.
Glory of Kalis.
We also learn here that Krin, the way he basically tells him the way he got into Daystrom Station is that they had some sort of AI had some sort of system that was illogical. He took advantage of it and created a device that could take advantage of the weakness. And so he ends up trading his life, basically to give them the device.
Yep. And pretty sure this is our first shot of Daystrom here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Rad.
And it's hard to say what's going on there. Some people would say maybe that's like a med bay. But it's hard to say.
Yeah, we can't say anything, but I mean, you could look at that and probably.
I'm just looking at it to try to determine what I think it might be based on what I see.
Yeah. Right, but you can look at that and probably get a good idea of what that is.
Probably.
Yeah. And that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're going to give us the device," and that's how they get the device. All right, back on Titan. We find out that she had transferred the majority of the Titan crew to the Intrepid, and she advises Jean-Luc, run.
Right, and that's convenient for two reasons. So you asked earlier, why would they have moved everybody to the Intrepid, right?
Right.
Well, for the purposes of what's going on, the Changelings want to continue to cover up the Changeling problem, and if you leave too many people out there running around that know this, then they're going to pass the word and it's going to get out.
Right.
So that's one reason. The other reason is it's a whole heck of a lot easier to run the ship around in danger with less people on board. So that's like a Starfleet trope.
Right.
How many times have we had, rogue starship, with just the main cast and crew and a few, extra people.
Right.
So that's kind of a standard operating procedure.
Yeah. Sure. When she said this, I thought about that one scene from The Flash. Run, Picard, run.
Don't tell me you did that.
We are Picard.
We are the Flash.
We are the Flash. What?
What? There's only one of us running fast here. What the heck's going on?
So
we are Picard.
We are Picard. And he's like, oh, you're definitely a changeling. So she tells him to run, and that's when the security shows up, and she plays it off. She's like, yeah, we're gonna leave now, okay, or whatever.
Yeah, get the shuttle ready.
Yeah, get the shuttle ready. We're taking off.
This is the moment right here.
This is the moment.
This is the moment where I couldn't hold it together anymore.
Another up for me. Really good.
Me too. Good. I wish you could have. Yeah, I wish you could have seen. It's just so.
I only did what I thought was best. Like she was.
Look at that. It's that look right there. Go back one.
Yeah.
It's that look right there that's like, oh my gosh.
She thought she was doing the right thing when she joined the Maquis. She thought, she thought she was doing the noble thing. The rest of us, seeing from the outside looking in, saw something different than what she saw. It's very, very good.
And she says here these words. She says, I wish I would have known you, and I wish you would have known me. Meaning all these years they lost because of this, frustration, this anger with each other, that they didn't speak to each other. She wishes he had known her since that happened, and vice versa. And it's just like a really touching moment that you don't get in Star Trek. And it means so much to legacy fans. It means so much to this show. I mean, forget legacy fans, just watching this show. If you can't tell the level of detail and character and story that's going on here, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I agree. And again, Shane, beautifully said.
Well, thank you.
Another podcast moment. I'm just going to snip that in.
I'm racking them up today, baby.
Racking up. You got 3 of them in the can already. Good job. And she hands Picard the earring. Dun, dun, dun. All right. So he goes to Shaw and he's like, listen, we got to get out of here. Starfleet's compromised. Shaw's like, yeah, nope. Yeah, think about it.
From, like security.
From Shaw's perspective, these guys are once again getting him into trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Putting his crew at risk. Yes.
Look at that face. Oh my God.
Picard's like, you have to trust me. You know, and in some level, here's what's cool about Shaw. He's so like conflicted because there is a level in him. There's a thing about him that he does love these characters,
right?
Or he does love these men. Mm-hmm. Like these guys are obviously brave,
right?
They're obviously, you know, loyal. They obviously love Starfleet. They love the same things he loves, right? So there's values there that he cares about. So he's conflicted,
right?
And part of him wants to follow the rules, and the other part is he wants to trust them,
right?
And it comes across in this very sarcastic way, but yeah, he ends up doing the right thing.
Well, he figures out what the problem is when Ro calls them and explains that her security officers plant a bomb and then teleport it out,
right. And then we learn they actually teleported back onto the Titan because their whole point for being there was to find Jack.
And they immediately turn into 2 other security officers. So someone,
they switch up, yeah.
Someone did have a pretty reasonable question about this as to why didn't the ship detect 2 brand new people on board? And we don't really have an answer for that.
Maybe they became 2 people that were on board the ship previously, like 2 of the current crew members.
Oh, okay. It's like, yeah, maybe they became 2 people that were transported over to the Intrepid.
Yeah, so they were previously on the ship, and so they would still be in the crew's manifest.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. That's a good answer. That's a great answer.
I mean, it'd be great if, like, you know, every single thing could ever be explained, but you would have like a 20-hour, you know, it'd be like 20 episodes instead of 10.
Right.
If you explained every small thing, you have to, you know, look, and part of the fun's reasoning through a few things, you know. And now if it doesn't make sense, if there's no explanation, then you're like, oh crap, there's no explanation. But I have found almost no cases where there's not an explanation that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, every episode would be just as long as these podcast episodes are.
Yeah, exactly.
And someone asked why didn't she transport? They actually they try to transport her out, but like there's blockers or whatever.
Here we're about to tell you.
Yeah, some kind of inhibitor inhibiting her ability to transport.
Well, what we see, she looks at the device, and if you recognize that device, it's the same one that the Changeling on the Titan used to cause the explosion that sent them into the gravity well of the nebula.
Right. Yeah, and that device is like one of those cool. It looks sort of like one of those cool analog clocks that are made out of the vacuum tubes. I like those a lot.
Right, doing the traditional countdown in a language we don't know what's going to hit 0. Like, what's 0? I think it's going to hit 0 like every second. I'm like, oh, 0. No, not 0 yet. I have no idea. Is it almost a 0?
Yeah. If I was a bomb maker, okay, I would definitely put my timers in like random emojis that no one knew what they meant. Right. So you have no idea what it's counting down to.
Right, you know, it's like
2 hands,
one is a different second.
Thumbs up, right? Man face,
cool glasses, shades, right?
A cucumber, right? One of the peaches,
right. You're like, I don't know what's happening.
This is a great moment. I'm about this too because This
Yeah,
moment
me too.
between them at the very end, I do see you, Ro. I do.
Yeah, and then he asks her to forgive him.
Forgive me, Ro. Forgive
You know,
me.
and then she sacrifices herself, bro.
Yes, that was
Boom.
awesome. And she flies the shuttle into one of the Intrepids in the cells, blowing it up and disabling, temporarily at least, disabling the Intrepid.
She's trying to give him time.
All right, give him a head start.
Ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, dun dun dun.
Such a great episode, dude.
So Shaw's on board now, by the way.
Oh my God, what's going on? Yeah, he better be on board.
Right. They go, the changeling masquerading as officers on that ship. They're framing us. Oh, and this, I gotta show this shot. Hold up. I gotta show this shot in as much of entirety as I can without getting demonetized here. Hold up.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. This shot right here. So we're looking over the bow. I think it's the bow, right?
Yep, you're right.
Of the Titan, and you see the Intrepid.
Right. Yeah, that's a cool shot.
That's sick, bro.
It looks menacing.
Oh, wrong one. Yeah, it's really cool. All right. And Andre Benson, love how the Intrepid rose up areas as it turned to look menacing. It was like the Intrepid said, you're about to get these problems. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, even though it's on fire, you're like, man, I'm still afraid of this ship. Something bad is about to happen.
Yeah, really cool. And they're arguing a little bit. You know, you can't turn his whole crew into fugitives. The whole crew's over there. They're framing us, dude.
Yeah, he's still having a moment where he's not quite on board. But when Captain Shaw decides he's all in, then he's all in.
Right. Yes.
You know, the moment he decides.
I love that so much.
And here we go.
This is the moment. This is another upvote for me, baby.
Upvote for me too. This is so great. Like the comment earlier was Jason Bourne, right? He has a Jason Bourne moment. And so he has a quick little vision and then he just opens up a can of whoop ass.
Right. Like
on these 4 changelings.
So cool, man. Boom.
Show it. There you go. Can you show it? Okay.
I can't show the whole thing.
Okay. And look at it, cold, passionless. And this is what I compared it to. Here's what I compared it to. I said,
there's a moment too here, like when the one guy gets up or whatever. Here, I'll show it to you.
Oh, when he
Yeah. Okay, hold up. All right, so he shoots the other ones, right? One guy he throws on the floor, right? And he's like holding it while he shoots it. Like there, he's on the floor. And watch the way he gets up. He's like, "Oh, I'm coming at you." Boop, not in the head.
I said Jack methodically takes out all 4 changelings like John Wick taking revenge on the guy who killed his dog.
Right.
I was like, you know, Jason Bourne, John Wick, take your pick. He just kicked their butts.
Yeah. And then you see the red door again and the red vines.
Yep, it's in the corridor, but then you can see that Jack's fighting it. Like you see it on his face. He's like fighting the visions.
Yeah, now the red door is actually like an actual door, not just like a red light or whatever. It looks like an actual door with a door handle and everything. Yeah. Yep. Red vines are taking over the ship. All right. Very cool. Let's get out of here. They're coming for us. I got to show this shot too. It's pretty cool.
Oh, the thumbnail shot with the Titan coming through?
Yeah.
I was like, when I saw that shot, I'm just like, God damn, these visual effects guys are just killing it.
Yeah, there are people that have like a major problem with the visual effects, and I don't understand why. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I mean, I got to hear that argument because, like, what?
Look at that. And zip. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, looks cool. All right. All right. So this is
then they get the earring.
Go ahead.
So he shows Will the earring, and Riker figured it out. You know, basically cloak and dagger type stuff. She was hiding the data for her investigation in her earring in a data chip.
Right.
So they're able to, you know, basically see everything that she's been working on this whole time. And then we get a transmission.
Yeah. And this is the transmission. Another upvote coming in, boys.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Captain Boom, 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 boom. It was
First
so great.
time in 20 years, guys. First time in 20 years that Worf's on the screen with these guys. It is just fantastic.
And I don't know what it is. Like I felt like I felt the way I feel like the characters should feel for some reason.
Yeah.
And even though I had just seen Worf several times,
It's immense joy. It's the joy of them being together, and it's seeing that their joy of seeing each other.
right?
You know what I mean? It's that moment when you're like, this is when I say you're invested into the characters. You know, when you're invested into the characters, and you love these characters for a reason. I mean, that's why the dispassionate people that are like, oh, you know, I check out Star Trek every once in a while. I've seen some episodes. Yeah, it's good sci-fi.
It's okay.
But if you're not connected to the characters, you're not going to have this feeling. So, I mean, I understand it. If you don't love this if you don't love this season of Star Trek, it might be that you're not connected to the characters.
Right.
You know, in some sort of way that's deep to you. And it just is for us. So I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, Kenneth the Rogue just pointed something out. After the left here, you can see the Enterprise F, and it says,
It's
basically
the E.
it says, oh, sorry, no, it's the F, and it says
Not with those words.
it's ready for early decommission.
Decommission. That's the E.
Are you sure?
Yep. Yeah, because the Enterprise E is the one that's being decommissioned.
No, Enterprise F is being decommissioned. Slated for early decommission. That's Enterprise F. That's the same shot from the trailer for the Enterprise F. And we don't know what happened to the Enterprise E yet.
Oh, well, who put out, was it the E or the F that Paramount put out?
F.
It was the F.
They spoiled it. Yeah, they spoiled it. Yeah.
They spoiled it, right? Yeah. So interesting.
And
I
it
wonder
says slated for early decommission.
Interesting. All
Yeah.
right. Well, you need to check that script I sent you today because that may have a problem in it.
There's a moment when, I can't say it, but there is some information about the E that you'll see.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Okay. So now we're in the sick bay, and Jack brought the bodies down there.
I guess he did. Somebody, or I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's just sitting there. Shaw's like, nice shooting, kid.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's like believing this or kind of what the heck's going on.
Look at their faces like, well, what's going on with Jack?
Right.
And that's when we get this final scene between Crusher and Crusher, but Jack and Beverly. And he's explaining, like, I don't even know what happened. Like, I'm not sure what's going on.
No, he didn't say any of that stuff, actually.
Well, I'm paraphrasing. Sorry, Shane. I'm sorry.
But he didn't say anything. No, it's important. It's important that you get this right because he did not say anything like that. And I thought that was really critical because she wanted him to talk to him and he wasn't talking to her.
He literally says, I don't know what happened. He says the words, I don't know what happened.
Okay, but what I'm saying is he's not telling her what's going on.
Right, but that's why I said I was paraphrasing that. I don't remember this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, I want people to think that he's sharing with her, you know, what's going on here because he's not. He's specifically not telling her what's going on.
Right.
And she's trying to get him to tell her, which is the interesting part of it is when she's like, Jack, how did you know that all four of those things were changelings? And he gives us looks like, I didn't. And then they both have this like horrified look on their face, like, oh my God, he just murdered people, not knowing that they were changelings, right? And then he's like, I think something's wrong with me, right? And it's like, oh my God, yeah, you think something's wrong with you?
Her face is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Thank God they were changelings.
Right. So give me that final upvote.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, and so now he does divulge to some degree that he thinks something, you know, is wrong with him, at least. But still, nobody knows he's having these visions. Nobody's on that level with him yet.
Dun, dun, dun. And that's it, man.
And that was it. Did we get a voice at the end? No, we didn't get one.
We didn't get the voice, no.
Yeah.
Hey, our review this week was only 2 hours.
Oh, great. Was it really?
It was.
Look I think people show up here for the 2-hour review. I mean, look, go to a movie or watch the review of Picard. I mean, listen, we break it down every detail of the show. Nobody makes these videos and puts them out to you like we do because we know that some people don't want to watch 2 hours, but thank you for staying tuned in.
Okay, so our official Popcast score is...
I think it's 11. Yeah. I thought you were going to do, don't you have like the thing where you do the audience?
We've been doing this for how long? And
You
why
got-
are you always shocked as... Yeah, but that audience thing is on Mondays. It's a completely different show, Shane.
I just assume that you can do anything at any moment.
I
It's
can't.
the way-
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what?
Here's the deal, boys.
I'll take a will we.
Thing to say to me.
All right.
That's great.
I need to add more of these things, dude.
What you just said is one of the most insane.
Oh my.
Okay, guys, that's the end of the review. Hey, listen, top scores, bros. Top scores. 11 is the number to beat. That is the highest score so far this season.
Yeah, and if people keep asking us like what's the best episode of the season, so far it's this one.
Right. And last week, someone asked us what the best episode of the season was, and so far it was episode 4.
It was episode 4, right? So yeah, that should give you a hint moving forward.
Yep. I agree with that. And that is the end of the review.